What if we understand the world through video games? I would like to call myself a scholar of video games. I love to play video games, but I would love to learn the world through them. Recently, Trump posted a video disturbing about a prosperous Gaza, denying a sad and complex reality of a land that is basically without peace. But I was wondering, why is Palestine a land without peace? How did we get here? Could we use video game to understand this? I tried this idea. I selected a series of video games and I am studying the history of Palestine through them. In this video, we will focus only in the most ancient time, the Bronze Age. Armies of warriors, armed with clubs, archers and chariots, marching across the arid lands of Canaan. In the Bronze Age, around 2000 before Christ, what is now Palestine was called Canaan, and its inhabitants were the Canaanites. They were among the most ancient civilizations in history, and were the ancestors of the Phoenicians, as well as the Philistines and Israelites, both of whom are mentioned in the Bible. Set in the late Bronze Age, Total War Pharaoh feels perfect to showcase Canaan and Palestine. I still remember the first time I played Total War after games like Age of Empires or Stronghold. I thought this was the most realistic battle simulation I had ever seen. I like to imagine that battles in the past were fought just like this. During combat, the game demands meticulous control over troops, shield-bearing infantry holding the lines, scimitar-wielding warriors break through enemy formations, and archers must be repositioned constantly to optimize their fire angles and avoid friendly fire. Because yes, arrows from your allies can kill you too. Of course, not everyone would agree that this is the most realistic representation of battles. In fact, it's unlikely that thousands of soldiers could be commanded with the precision seen in the game, constantly shifting positions on command. More probably, strategy and tactics were planned before battle, and once the fighting started, direct control was nearly impossible until the battle was over. Still, I believe this is one of the most closest representation we have of what Canaan might have looked like in 2000 before Christ. As an empire expands, maintaining control becomes more challenging. Administration relies on extensive trade to survive, and diplomacy is necessary to make agreements with both related and foreign tribes. The Total War campaign is another aspect I love about the game. I enjoy planning cities and choosing which territories to conquer. Total War Pharaoh introduces even more layers of strategy and realism that I find fascinating. History teaches us that managing a vast empire is a challenge. Empires rise, conquer, expand, and eventually collapse under their own weight. This dynamic is well represented in the game through penalties imposed on overexpansion, forcing players to reconsider unlimited territorial growth. This is the Bronze Age. Food, stone, bronze and gold are critical resources, and diplomacy to secure them is just as important as military expansion. More precisely, this is the end of the Bronze Age. The world is interconnected through trade with distant empires, much like today's world. And this world is on the verge of collapse, much like today's world, or maybe not. And the game reflects the imminent collapse through the pillar system. As long as cultural centers remain standing, civilization thrives. But if key cities are raided and destroyed, power destabilizes, and nomadic groups can gain influence. Canaan is caught in the middle of all of it, a multitude of factions fighting for the control of this land, in a continuous struggle for power, in an endless cycle of struggle for power. This led me to a reflection that I would like to share with you. But before this, I would like to explore what happened in Palestine in the prehistory. What is the prehistory of Palestine? In Palestine, we have the old city in the world, Jericho. It was founded in 10,000 before Christ. The scale of time blows my mind. The Bronze Age happened 4,000 years ago, in 2000 before Christ. Jericho was founded 6,000 years before that. Can you imagine how much history we miss in what we call the before the ancient history? How many history of life, of people, of what happened, personal stories that happened and we have no clue about it. One thing we do know is that they had the skill to create objects like these vases and statues. These artifacts are linked to the Natufian culture, a lost civilization. So lost that almost no one today will know how to recreate a vase like this, which has existed for 12,000 years. I for one, I have no idea how to make one of them. The Natufians lived in Palestine, and to this day we can see the remains of a settlement in Jericho, at the archaeological site of Tel es Sultan. The Canaanite culture probably arrived in Palestine after the Natufians. And before the Natufians, we know that various hominids likely fought over these territories. In Israel, remains of Homo heidelbergensis dating back 300,000 years have been found. However, the presence of the first hominids in the region probably goes back 1 million years, as the Levant has always been a crossroads between Europe, Asia, and Africa. Africa, where our ancestors originated before spreading across the planet. We don't know the exact dates, but we do know that for a long period the Levant was inhabited by Neanderthals, who then disappeared, replaced by Homo sapiens, only to briefly reappear before going to extinct. So, the hypothesis is that the Levant and Palestine were contested lands between the two species. So, now we have a clearer idea of what was the prehistory in Palestine. A land contested between hominids in an endless struggle of power between hominids. Let me now show you a story based from an original story of the Canaanite religion. The Canaanite religion existed in Palestine 2000 years ago. So, in this story, we have a pantheon of God, a family of deities. On top of this family, we have the god El. He is the creator of all beings. He is the boss, the man in charge that doesn't care about anything. He minds his own business and he doesn't do anything at all. Below him, we have Baal, rider of the clouds, master of earth. He is the ruler of the world. He is the god in charge to keep the world prosperous. One day, Baal decides to fight against another god, the god Mot, god of the death. Baal is defeated. Your servant am I, and forever will be. With these words, Baal submits himself to Mot, because nobody can subjugate death. Nobody can defeat death. The world plunges into chaos. There is famine and droughts, and is the chaos in the world. Anat, the sister of Baal, looks for revenge. She finds Mot, and with the sieve she did winnow him. With fire she did scorch him. With the milestone she did grind him, and with her rest she sowed the fields. Look, the ancient myths are always so creative and bloody, I have to say, very creative. Anyway, the world comes back to prosperity. And they live happily ever after, right? And no, because Mot is the god of the death, and death cannot be killed. So Mot comes back, and he starts to fight again with Baal, in an endless struggle of power, in an endless cycle of struggle of power, showing that in the world there is an alternation of prosperity and chaos, an alternation in the power between the god Baal and the god Mot. This story comes from the Canaanite religion and is called the Cycle of Baal. But why did I tell you this story? What's related? It's related to the meaning of this exploration we have done in this video. My thesis is, what if the land of Palestine is a land that has in its own nature a struggle of power? What if it needs to be like that? How can we say that? Well, first of all, we see it in the Canaanite religion. In the Canaanite religion, we don't have a god in charge of the whole time. We have a continuous fight between the gods, an endless cycle of power. But we saw it also in the prehistory. We have evidence that the land of Palestine was changed continuously between Homo Neanderthal and Homo sapiens. So even the hominids were contending this land and continuously shifting the power. Finally, we saw it in Total War. In Total War, we see the land of Palestine contested by a multitude amount of factions continuously fighting and trying to find an equilibrium. Each faction that gets more power automatically is fought back by other factions with nobody never in charge of the land. So this is my conclusion. It's a conclusion that is purely personal, and feel free to disagree. Maybe this land is a land that has in its own nature a continuous struggle for power. So you that you have arrived to this point of the video, let me know if you agree with this. Feel free to disagree and tell me, because if this is the nature of this land, for sure it's not the force what we have to use to solve this problem. Is the understanding, an understanding coming from this video, and the dialogue. And the dialogue starts from a conversation. So, if you don't agree with me, or I sparked some interesting thoughts on you, please share it with me on this video. Thank you.